welcome to Discover Iceland with Anywhere But Here Travel. Let me know, again, just basically if you just joined us, type into the chat where you're from. We would love to see where people are tuning in from. We had people from Colorado and Vancouver, Canada, and where else? Lake Stevens, Linwood. We had a lot of Washingtonians.
Yes.
So, no, this is great. We are Anywhere But Here Travel, and we would like to welcome everybody to our presentation tonight. Give me a thumbs up if everything's good. You can see the screen. You can hear us okay. Awesome. How do I go to the next slide?
You can hit the little, hit your arrow. There you go.
Here's our
Got it.
I know, I'm learning as we go. So this is just our quick agenda. We're gonna be very brief in the very beginning of our presentation, and then we're gonna hand it over to Sandy Doss with Mayflower, and she has the bulk part of the presentation that's gonna share all this great stuff about Iceland. So I know you guys might be curious. Actually, there's several people here, probably more than normal, that already know who we are and what we do.
Yeah. Yes.
So this is actually really kind of awesome. But in case you don't know who we are, and you can't see the three of us on the screen right now, we are missing one of our travel gals, Kara, who's in the picture there all the way to the right. Right. And there's Andrea here,
Our CEO.
Our CEO, and Tia over there. And she's kind of in the middle in our picture over here. And then I'm Monica with Anywhere But Here Travel. So, oh, look at that. So who does Anywhere But Here Travel help? How about you, Andrea? Who do we help?
Oh, we help folks that are super busy, that don't want to deal with the craziness of the internet to try and book their trip. We deal with experienced travelers who are looking for that extra special experience on their next trip, their next travel experience. Of course, we help basically half the people on this on this screen. We have helped. So if you know who you are, then that's who we help. As far as this Iceland trip is concerned, this is something that we're traveling with everyone. So we're going to help you before, during, and after the trip. Physically, we will be there. So we are super excited about that.
Yeah. And then how do we help people? You kind of already touched on some of this already. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. We save you time and money. We alleviate the stress of the planning. And it's super easy with something like what Sandy's going to present to us. It's already set out. We don't even have to do any work, hardly. So this is awesome. But if you're looking for something more custom made, we can totally do that. It's something totally within our wheelhouse. So,
or if you want to go on this tour and maybe there's more that you want to do than what we're offering, we can also do that and extend that trip for you.
Yeah. And just briefly, just really short, how do we work? We are a fee-based travel agency. Some maybe agencies don't charge a fee up front, but a lot of times they do roll it into the package price. So you might not see it up front, but it probably is there. Yeah. So we just like to be upfront and honest with our clients, and they seem to respond really well to that. And it just depends on the type of the trip, what kind of fee that is, and it just covers so many things. Covers, like Andrea was saying, we do stuff before you go, while you're traveling, and we follow up with you also when you get home. So, and we're going to be on this trip with you. So you're going to have fun with us, and it'll all be good. So, what else? Okay, well, here you go. Here, Tia, you can talk about this.
So, which question, which are you having me answer here?
Well, if you're looking for
a
custom trip with us,
okay.
How does that look?
So basically what happens is you would have a 30-minute discussion with me. I'm going to ask you a ton of questions about you and how you travel, and what you like to do on your trips, and some information that you're going to look at me or say, why are you asking these questions? But really it's so that we get to know you and we know exactly what kind of a trip that you are looking for. Because we don't believe in that cookie cutter vacation where everybody who's going to a trip goes on the same trip. We believe in customizing it and making it for you.
Except this one.
Well, no, even this one,
Even this one is gonna be
even
new.
this one, there are options that we can add to it or to make it specifically for you. There's varying different levels that we can change this to make it your trip as well.
Absolutely.
That's true.
And then if you book with us, what we do then is we have a planning session and we kind of present the initial proposal to you. And we go back and forth with you a couple of times until we've made that trip your own. And then once we've got that perfect, then we have the option to negotiate with the vendors and make sure that you're getting the best deal for your money that you spend on the trip. And then we also provide a phone number for while you're on your trip that 24/7, we have somebody who answers that call.
Usually me.
Yeah. And if something goes on the trip that isn't going the way that you want it to, you give Andrea a call and she will take care of that for you. And then, like she said, you know, we follow up with you when you return and just kind of make sure that you enjoyed your trip. And if you have any suggestions for next time, or you're like, you know what, I really love this trip, what do you have that I can do next that's like that? And we can work with you on that as well.
Awesome. And we didn't even practice this at all. That was awesome.
Right? Can you
I
tell
just
by
threw
my,
her into that. So that was pretty awesome.
That's what we do.
And, you know, I will have to say that in general, that's how we typically work. This particular trip that we're going to present to you is going to be a little bit different than, you know, what we just outlined. But if there's something you wanted to customize, you want to do it on your own, this is kind of how the process would work. So I just wanted to throw that in there just so you guys knew. Just a couple housekeeping items for you tonight. We are recording this presentation and we will share it with you afterwards. So if you wanted to not worry about taking notes, or if you want to share it with a friend that might want to travel with you, or you know somebody that wants to go to Iceland, we would be happy for you to share that with them. We also have a couple of other events that are coming up. We would love to invite you to. And we'll send you all the links of everything so you can just, you know, click on something and RSVP. And we also have a sample, or all the details of this itinerary, this Iceland itinerary that we'll be sharing with you afterwards. And I did mention this, I think, before we started recording, but you are muted by default, but you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask questions. But what is probably preferred is that you just use the chat feature and send in your questions via the chat. Andrea's monitoring the chat room since I can't really see it that well on this screen. And then we'll get your questions answered, and we'll interrupt and ask the question.
That's right.
So
Ready to chat.
yeah. I just have a few quick questions. This is, you know, get your exercise ready going for typing in the chat. If you already told us where you're from, that's awesome. And then I'm just also curious if you've been to Iceland before. Sounds like Justin already has a book plan on the books to go to Iceland. Maybe if you've been on like a guided or an escorted tour before, let us know that. And if there's something like you just have to know about Iceland and you want to know it, ask that question in the chat. So that's pretty much, I think, it for me. Let me check my notes. Yeah, basically, that means I'm done. And I am going to turn it over to Sandy.
Okay.
So
then-
I think I gave you the permission to
It's not showing up yet.
screen share.
You
Did
might
I not
have
do
to
it?
stop share. You have to stop.
Oh, I have
sharing.
to stop my share. Okay, maybe that.
And so now she should be able to.
Okay, how about now?
Let's see if I can do it. Oh, if we pull this off, I'm telling you, it is good times. Ready? Ready, people? Do we see a screen?
Yes.
I see something.
Yay! Well, first off, everybody, it is wonderful to be back with you guys. I do recognize many of your faces, and it's fun to have so many people coming from even Chicago and Colorado and Vancouver. That's awesome. And my name is Sandy Doss, and I am in Portland, Oregon. And I have been working with the four gals here at Travel anywhere but here travel. And what I love is we've actually, some of you I think were on the Albuquerque Balloon Festival talk that we had a few months ago. And so I'm so excited. I hope you're joining us or even considering that trip as well. But tonight we really wanted to take this opportunity to kind of begin to chat about another trip. And one of the things that I find that is fun about these evenings and this time together with you tonight is I think all of us are so ready to get out. Like that's the understatement of all understatements. My travels basically now include Fred Meyer's and return home. So grocery store and back. So I am living vicariously through these trips. There is no doubt. And so we're excited to share a little bit about it. I'm going to begin with first, how do we get to Iceland? One of the things about this trip that you're going to see is this trip is including free air, round trip air from any Iceland Air gateway. So while there's a lot of Washtonians in this group, you'll originate in Seattle and make a direct flight in Seattle. But if you're in another gateway, I think I saw Chicago, we'll be able to place you into that air as well. So anyways, we'll make all those connections for you. But the international flight is free through March 31st. And so it's important to note because it's quite a bonus time. It's a direct flight. Iceland Air will fly from whatever gateway you're coming out of. Like Seattle, it's about a 7-hour flight, just to give you an idea. And we have planned this trip. You know, it's funny because with Iceland, I think, Justin, you're going in June. Every season in Iceland is almost like a whole new experience of the country. It is so drastically different, you know, based on the time of year that you're going. We have chosen March 2nd through the 8th because we're sort of bringing you to the winter wonderland of Iceland. And so you're going to have, like, you know, when you think of Narnia, this is sort of Narnia. But at the same time, it is the peak season to see the Northern Lights. And I believe, I can't see anymore the gal with the Northern Lights background, but it is definitely going to be a lot of fun for us because that is a phenomenon you just don't see in many places in the world. We're going to be flying into Keflavik. Oh, and I have a disclaimer before I even begin this. Do we get points for how horribly mispronounced in my representation of Iceland that I give you tonight? I get extra points for how well I butcher any particular Icelandic word. To tell you a little bit about the alphabet of Iceland, there is an A and an E letter that is a combined, it's like an AE. And I have yet to command the language. In fact, I've decided it's not ever going to be possible. I'm just going to say that out loud. So we'll give it my best shot tonight, but we'll all have a lot of fun.
I think we give you a free pass, Sandy.
Yeah, I'm just here for your
language.
Yeah, I'm going to be for your entertainment tonight. But yes, so we're gonna fly into Keflavik, and Keflavik is this quaint, beautiful little town village that's on the edge of a peninsula here on the southwest section of Iceland. And you know, Iceland is kind of a misnomer because we really do think we're coming into this icy wonderland, and I find it ironic because Greenland, guys, is really where you're going to see, you know, that level of ice and glaciers and snow. And Iceland actually is this green verdant space, as well as having these beautiful Arctic, you know, experiences too. And so Keflavik is a little bit off from, you know, the main center of Reykjavik, and then also even the other town areas. And so I'm going to give you a sense. I'm always big about maps because I think it helps us to get our bearings on a particular trip. And, you know, Justin, I know you're going in June, and so this will also give you some sense of where some of these places are. There is a lot to see in Iceland, guys. You know, it's from the western side of the island to the eastern side. I would tell you that predominantly the southern Iceland is usually the most iconic elements that most people are seeking, you know, in a trip to Iceland. It's generally, you know, most favorable for, let's say, the things that we all envision if we know anything about Iceland to begin with, right? But it's fun because it's not that far apart. This is a country that you can really access one location to the next with great ease. And so you're not in, you know, hours upon hours of driving any one location. And I often say your journey is as flavorful as the destination that you're trying to get to in a trip. And this is one of those types of trips. You know, the scenery is just to die for from beginning to end. I just, you know, and especially for all of us in the Pacific Northwest, we've got beautiful scenery here. Heck, in Colorado and Vancouver too, and Chicago, and you know, and so it just is really, I think it's part of the reason we travel. And so we're going to have arrived in that airport, and we're going to actually make a drive to the area is called Hevergendi. And Hevergendi, you think, wait a minute, wait, we're not staying in Reykjavik, and we're not actually. We're going to move. It's about an hour from the airport. And we are choosing this location for a particular reason. And this is actually the capital of hot springs, this region. And we are a little bit outside of Reykjavik. And because of that, it gives us the chance to not just see the northern lights that are planned for your trip, but we could very well see northern lights every single night. The other thing that I love about this trip as we just frame this story is that you unpack one time. This is not a scenario where we're, you know, packing and unpacking and next hotel and next hotel. We're going to plant ourselves in this area, which is really southern, you know, the southern Iceland shore. And this is where we get to kind of jaunt from each and all locations. And Iceland is marked with, I guess I would say like a farming, it's dotted with these farmlands and these farm homes. And so it's very pastoral in some ways. And so this is going to be something that you're going to notice in all of our travels is this kind of unique, you know, quaint villages, very small communities as we begin our way. And, you know, there's a lot to see in Iceland. And I think, some of the highlights that I go, oh my gosh, you know, volcanology and geology. This is the wonderland of volcanoes. I mean, if you have a fascination with volcanoes, especially us up here in the Northwest, you know, it's a part of our lives. We have Mount St. Helens. This is going to be a place where you're going to really see how life is lived around volcanoes and how this country is really evolved with this tapestry in the landscape that they have. This is one of their volcanoes, Mount Hekla, and the pictures that I'm going to show you tonight will not capture, guys, the immensity of what you see here. It just, I can't catch it in a slideshow. But with Mount Hekla, this is one of the more predominant volcanoes in the area. This one's really one of my favorites, only because look at the spelling below. Does anyone want to take a guess at this? This is wait, let me start over. Eyjafjallajokull. That's so wrong. I didn't say it right. But here's what I love about this is this volcano made global news. I was going to say national news, but made global news in 2010. Do you all remember the eruption in Iceland? And it disrupted air travel throughout the world. Like it was a deal. The part that I love is that every newscaster around the world had to actually take this news story and say the name of this volcano, which just entertains me greatly because I can only imagine how many times this was screwed up royally, as I have just done. But we're going to have a lot of different volcanic experiences, and your guides in Iceland are just extraordinarily knowledgeable. They're like a well of content that's just going to be readily available to you. And you have to know nothing about earth science or geology or any of that stuff, guys. I mean, you can just go, wow, that's pretty. And they'll just be able to fill it in for you in a way that is so interesting and entertaining. I would also say that Iceland's known for its waterfalls. And this is really a tour of, you know, volcanoes now plus waterfalls of Iceland. And I would say, you know, we are used to here in Oregon, we've got some beautiful waterfalls, but in Iceland, they're just extraordinary. And one of the things that makes them so unique is you have this chance to come very close into these waterfall systems. We're not hiking or, you know, really taking a heavy effort to get to any one site in particular. This is in the, I want to say it's the Thorsmark Valley. And if I were to turn around from where this picture was taken, you have this just incredible valleyscape that's behind you here, that is as equally stunning as maybe even this shot is. This is one of the more iconic waterfalls of Iceland, but it's not necessarily the mightiest or even the tallest. I think this one's just about 197 feet tall. What I love about this one is, see that little walkway over there to the left in this image? You literally are parking, you come onto this beautiful walkway, you walk around, and you're able to actually access all the way around this waterfall. And so the accessibility is incredible. And in fact, you can kind of sort of see the valley off from this direction. This will be a trip where you're going to want to bring, and even you, Justin, in June, you'll want to have probably some rain gear. At the very least, a rain jacket, because the mist of the waterfalls, you can definitely get a little wet. But if you have an inclination for photography, landscape photography as an example, this is a destination that really lends itself to that. And I would also even add in wildlife photography for this as well. But, you know, this is just one of the stops. We carry on and, you know, we continue, we go to Skogafoss. I can say this one, guys. And this is a magnificent waterfall. And what is beautiful about this is check out how truly right up and on it you get. And Skogafoss, I mean, isn't it just amazing? Yeah, Andrea.
Question.
Yes.
Actually, I have a question from Kirsten.
Okay.
So these waterfalls are beautiful. Are these something that we'll actually see in March? The waterfalls will be there?
Oh, yes. Thank you for asking that question. Not only will the waterfalls be flowing, but you're going to get, because you're edging out of winter and into the spring, you're going to get that frozen, you know, sides. So to be honest, it's even more spectacular because you get a little bit of that ice that has yet to melt. It's about 40 degrees in March. So let me give you an idea of temperatures and just sort of the sense. So it, you know, for us in the Pacific Northwest, we're kind of used to 40s. Probably you guys in Denver right now, you probably would, in Chicago too, would be thrilled with 40. So it's not necessarily that it's a polar, horrible Arctic thing. But for sure, you'll get that icy element, which is what I've come to love when I'm there in the winter. So yes. And did that answer that question, Andrea? Okay, good. This waterfall, guys, is 25 meters in width. So this woman sort of gives you that scale to get an idea of how quite large this particular site is. And there's, in this picture, you can't see it, but there's an observation. There's 570 steps. It's like a wooden platform, and you make yourself, you walk your way up to this platform for which you have a whole different view of the waterfall. And I highly recommend it. It is well worth the walk, and the view and the perspective is so different from what you see below. So it's a little quick note, so if you can remember that when you're there, and you'll see, it's very easy to see. Now we have the volcanoes. We've got the these magnificent waterfalls as we're making our way through south and southeastern, southwestern Iceland. But the other quality about Iceland that I find really appealing is there's just an incredible rich history and cultural heritage of Iceland. You've got, of course, the Viking influence, and the Norse languages, and there's that whole element there. But then, if you're a literary fan and you love to read, every part of Iceland, almost every part, I can't think of anywhere that I haven't been in Iceland where there wasn't a saga and some kind of fascinating folklore aligned to that particular area. And so much so that you can there's neighborhoods that are built around the land of the gnomes because they believe the gnomes exist, and they truly believe this. So you have neighborhoods where all of a sudden the street stops and there's no homes and you don't really understand why, and it's because there's gnomes. So it's a little bit of The Hobbit, I guess. This is one of the museums, and I've shared this in previous talks with you guys, but museums to me, when we travel, are kind of a foundation. They lay that layer in on the experience of what we're seeing or what we've seen or will see, because they give us this opportunity to kind of explore and have maybe relationship to the kinds of touch points that we're having. And like, for instance, in this particular museum, you actually will see the sod houses. You're going to see how they construct these Icelandic sod houses. And you've maybe seen these in images with the grass roofs. And this is still commonly practiced in many areas of Iceland. So we'll definitely expect to see that. As well, the Viking heritage is really interesting, and definitely here in this museum. Those pictures before make it look like it's really small. It isn't actually small. It's like 6 full buildings. And so we're going to have some interpretive time here with an escorted guide that's going to offer us, some feedback about what we're seeing. This picture actually is Dyrholaey, and this is actually a coastal community or a coastal site that we're visiting on the way to Vik. And Dyrholaey is often, you'll see the pictures of these dramatic, lava-rich rocks along the coast. So we do definitely see this advertised, in a lot of the cover photos of Iceland. But Dyrholaey is going to offer us, that kind of cliffside experience. If you've been to Scotland or maybe Ireland, I would say there's some similarities here. But what you're really noticing is the volcanic origin of this entire island. Like, you see it at every turn and every location. What you're not seeing in this picture is Iceland is rich with seabird populations and also migratory birds. Which is kind of fun. So if you have a love affair with, kind of birds of the world, there are people that will travel just to, to Iceland just to see the incredible migration of birds that come past the Arctic here. One of them that's very popular is the Atlantic puffin. And these guys are kind of fun. They go out to sea for about 5 years. They can be out to sea for up to 5 years, and they return. And here they've been, at sea for a very long time, and they return to these rocks, and they're terribly unstable on their feet. They just haven't used their feet in so long. So they're clumsy, and you just you could sit there for hours and watch them try to land. And I know that shouldn't be so entertaining, but it sort of is. They're not really a diet for Icelanders, but if you look at Iceland recipe books, seabird collecting, it's particularly for the eggs, seabird egg collecting is a thing, and that's very popular. And so often the eggs of these guys are part of the everyday diet, as we would go to a hen house and get an egg there. Well, in Iceland, they just go get an Atlantic puffin egg. So I always find that interesting. I don't have a picture of this, but I'll make one other comment. There's another species called an Arctic tern, It is the only bird that circumnavigates the whole earth. And you readily see them in Iceland, these Arctic terns. And to be quite honest, they're little boogers. I mean, they will dive bomb you if they're territorial. So, you know, you may not like the Arctic terns if you encounter them, but but it fascinates me that they can actually make a full circumnavigation of the whole earth. I mean, that's just incredible. So as we're making our way, this is now on the southern coast here. We're going to encounter these black sand beaches, and these are lava beaches. So what we're seeing here again is the remnants of, you know, previous eruptions, and this is actually this picture here on the left. This is where I'm going to try to impress you guys. Ready? Are you? Here we go. This is called columnar basalt. And I didn't even look that up. I just want y'all to know I happen to know that just because. But what's interesting about columnar basalt is that it's a hexagonal, it's a way of cooling of the lava, and they form perfect hexagons. Each one of these columns is a perfect hexagon. But you know the, what is that called? The causeway, the, Giant's Causeway. We see this happening in other parts of the world. So you might have had an experience with something like this. This is where you'll take great group shots. So let me just say your photos here are awesome. And here's backing away now from those beaches for a second, just to give you a sense of the communities and the villages that dot these areas. Now we've come into Vik, and Vik is a beautiful little town. The whole country of Iceland is only about 350,000 people, guys. So we're not talking about a big population. But in, you know, this community, this church is particularly famous. It was built in the 30s, and it was built for tourists. So that tells us a little bit about when Iceland became sort of the beginnings of a destination that the world began to come to, because this church was built for tourist interest. When you're there, what you're going to actually see most often is you're going to see these tiny little churches. And when I say tiny, I mean tiny, that you think, what is that? Like, you know, and a lot of them have the sod roofs and everything. And in Iceland, what I was told was that the farmers are responsible for building the churches because they live so far apart from each other that there wasn't like a communal, you know, let's say thing that would build that church, the community. Instead, the farmer would build a tiny little church, and maybe the next farmer on the next plot over would come over and do services together. So they were never made to hold more than 10 people. So you're going to see that, which I think is kind of fun. This is, oh, let's see, Reynisdrangar Rocks. So not right? This particular area just gives us an idea. Me in Oregon, this reminds me of kind of our Oregon coast. What you're seeing here is this rugged, almost like haystack, you know, scenario where we've just got these incredible rock systems that have, you know, eroded in these kinds of ways. But I often say spots like this remind us of the power of the ocean and sort of how the landscape is transformed by the power of the ocean. And so we're going to spend a lot of time in areas like this with scenery like this. You know, your guides are going to give you some deep, you know, dives into the background or the intriguingness of that area, as well the sagas. So that's, again, they'll share these stories with you. This is Reykjanes, and this is a very geologically rich area as well. And this is, we're now continuing to follow that southern coastline. But one of the things that I think is exciting is the geothermal, really how the geothermal energies are harnessed, and also the role that that plays in the whole society of Iceland. For a moment, when you come here, we're going to visit this very geothermically active area. You'll have mud, you know, cauldrons and mud pots and mud pools, steam vents. And this really shows us sort of the power of, you know, I call it Earth alive. Like, You know, we have places like that here for us in the United States. Obviously, you know, with Yellowstone, this seems very reminiscent of a Yellowstone kind of thing. But in Iceland, all energy is produced through geothermal harnessing. So they have pure, clean energy. And I find it interesting that we don't do that in certain parts of our country, like why we don't harness the geothermal energy in Yellowstone to create electricity. I always wonder, you know, why not? So this is kind of cool because you'll walk through and learn a little bit about it, but I think it's more the idea of being visibly able to see it. We're going to make a couple stops. You know, waterways or bodies of water tell lots of stories. And I think often, you know, we go, oh, that's a beautiful lake and that's a beautiful river. But, you know, it's those bodies of water are how civilizations begin to unfold and how towns build and how, you know, communities move goods. And there's just so many things about it. In this case, one of the things about this particular lake, it's the second largest in Iceland. There is no external water source that is coming in or out of the lake. The lake is actually filling from underneath. So it is this kind of porous, crazy thing. But the mineral content here is really high. So what you're not seeing, and I think what you would see it when you're there, is it's a very fertile region. And so we're going to talk a lot about the stories, again, the sagas that might relate to this region. But the wildlife viewing here is exceptional. Lots of waterfowl. We're going to take some time and, you know, I think this is what we all need right now. And in fact, I'll just tell you, with all the snow last week, I so needed this. This is the Blue Lagoon, and Iceland's famous for this one location. In the 1970s, guys, you see in the background here, this geothermal kind of production thing going on. This was the electric company. I mean, this is where they are producing the energy for Reykjavik and other communities nearby. And the Icelandikers began to come and sit in the wastewater of that plant. So that's what this is. This is the wastewater of a geothermal plant. And how many times in your life will you tell people that you sat in wastewater as a leisurely tourist thing to do? But I think it's the coolest thing because one of the things that we find is that it's 100% pure. It's deeply mineral rich. And in fact, it's all very shallow. I would say not much more. Some spots might be up to your chest, but most are about waist deep. And it's got this white mud, and it is really sought after as a healing experience for many people, to soak and to take in that mineral rich water. And so it's kind of one of those things where you almost can't come to Iceland and not experience this. There are other areas of soaking in the country that you know you can go to. I think what's so fascinating is it's that fun story between that, you know, the energy uses of the country and how here you have this, you know, soothing healing center right next door. So
We have another question.
We have another great question. Does it smell like sulfur?
Not really. No, it wasn't bad at all. And I don't know if in the last picture, you really can't tell. This is massive. I mean, you may see like a lot of people in this little clove here. You can find yourself, I don't care, every time I've ever been there, you can find yourself a nook where it is just you and you are alone and, you know, you can float. And so it isn't as crowded as you might think, I guess, at least not by the imagery. But no, not really, not any kind of horrible sulfur smell that I can recall.
Perfect.
And I also let me also say something else too. They have a beautiful clubhouse that offers, you know, all the shower systems and everything, so that you have, you know, all those resources to shower and clean up when you're done and all of that. But there's great eateries there. You can have a glass of wine overlooking this beautiful view. So it's a beautiful center as a whole. Now, you would think, right when you got off the plane, that we were going to head right into Reykjavik, and we don't. And I got to say, in most itineraries I've ever been on, you usually do. And I love on this itinerary that you don't, because I think with Iceland, in that sparse population, there is something to be said for having seen and experienced all these little villages in a variety of ways, right? Before you come to the big city. And the big city is 100,000 people. You know, it's a third of the population of Iceland. And this city is like any other city in the way that it offers incredible museums and art galleries and eateries, the dining. It's very modern. It's very, you know, that Scandinavian flair. You know, you've got the old mixed in with the new. And for those that love the nightlife, Reykjavik is world known for its nightlife. So if you are a night owl and you want to get out, it's got some great fun nightlife here, but very walkable. It's all situated here along the harbor, which is very important to the commerce and economy of Iceland as a whole. And while we're in Reykjavik, a portion of that time, we're going to actually take a guided tour through some of the really key sites of the city. So again, just kind of laying some new foundations for you. But with the Parliament, this actually was built, I want to say like in the 1880s. And, you know, it is, I think, one of the oldest parliaments in the world. It actually housed the president of Iceland from somewhere in the 40s to the mid 70s. And this would have been the office of the president of Iceland. I also should say something about that. There in Iceland, there is a prime minister and a president. And I don't know, for all us women on the call, I have loved Iceland because the prime minister is a woman. And guys, she's like in her mid 40s. She's one of the youngest leaders, world leaders, you know, across the board, and has been really quite amazing during this COVID. I don't know if you followed Iceland during COVID, but she has been a game changer. She's sort of like New Zealand. She handled it extraordinarily well, and Iceland has fared very well through COVID for sure. We're going to visit additional museums. So here we have the National Museum. This is very different from the Skogar Museum that we will have been at before, because that really talks more about the rural communities of Iceland. Now we're going to talk about just, you know, a variety of things, but the second floor of this building has a really good exhibit that takes you through the story of when Iceland was not its own sovereignty. So before independence, what was Iceland like? So we'll have some time to explore that. You know, I talked about those modern marvels and kind of this quality of just incredible architecture. This is the Perlan, and this is yet another museum, but it is, it's like going to a modern art museum in some ways. It's multiple exhibits, so there's all kinds, and guys, it changes so much. But it is like one of these places where you're going to go because the building is so amazing. And then you're going to want to see the exhibits that are in there that are so darn amazing. And then these are the views that you see from it. It's some of the best views of the whole harbor in the city is from Perlan. And so it's often, you know, a stopping spot for a lot of people because of that. Again, my photographers out there will appreciate this. And let me know if we had a question, because I thought I saw something, but maybe not.
Nope, I have a question.
Oh, go for it.
So Kim has a great question. If we only unpack once in the original city, how do we catch the nightlife in Reykjavik?
Oh, you can actually arrange for a car to take you back and forth in the evenings. So the hotel that you're at can do that. Your concierge can coordinate that for you. So, you know, much like an Uber's everywhere. So if you wanted to get out and go and do that, for sure, that would be something that is an option. The other thing that I would suggest for everybody is you may want to consider it, you know, and we can either roll this in or you guys do this part, but if you want to take an extra night in Reykjavik, that is always an option. So there is the option of it doing an extension, you know, if you're interested in that. I'm going to tell you that the pricing and the travel gals will definitely give you this full spectrum here. This is the best pricing I've ever seen for Iceland. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I am shocked at, like, you know, a bagel in Iceland can cost $20. Like, you know, it's ridiculous sometimes how expensive. And so this has been one of those things that I've marveled at. I don't know who had to give away a child and what happened here, but it was big. And one of the things that we're going to do, and this is sort of give for a moment your Disney on, and I will tell you that things like this, sometimes I might be like, you know, I don't know. This takes on a whole new meaning, and I actually am a huge advocate of this activity because Iceland's this vast island. You have massive glaciers, you have volcanic systems, you have rugged mountaintops. If you're a mountaineer or you're, you know, you want to drive a Jeep through rivers, you know, it is just this very, what do you want to say, dramatic landscape. Most of the country is very dramatic. And for most of us, we, you know, either physically or, you know, well, I don't know, for 1,000 reasons, may not be the ones to go climb that mountain or see that thing. This, when you do this, is the 30,000 feet up. This gives us the opportunity to see those very off the beaten places of Iceland and have that sort of well-rounded perspective of what this country really holds. And I love this. It's like an IMAX meet, you know, I don't know, you really do feel like you're flying and, you know, you're really in it, but you get to follow those, you know, glacial pathways and, you know, take these deep dives into the crevices and just so many aspects of Iceland that I feel like, you know, would be very hard for us to see, especially in northern Iceland. The polar bears, you know, make their way to Iceland even. And so you'll have this experience. And then you're going to bring back, you know, this architectural aspect. And this is what Reykjavik really is to me. It's like this combination of the history and the heritage, but then you've got these modern wonders. This is the Church of Iceland, and it was built, it actually took 40 years to build this church. When you can tell, right? Like, doesn't it look like it would take 40 years? It is a masterpiece. But what I love is you see it from anywhere in the city. You can be walking and you're going to be able to view the what is that called? The steeple of this church. Is that what it's called? The steeple, right? Okay, yes. This seems like an everyday house on, you know, the coast here, the harbor, but this house holds global importance because this is where Reagan and Gorbachev met for their summit. So when they had the first meeting between the two world leaders, this was the location they met at. And so you're going to make a visit here, and you know, and this is where we kind of weave in a little bit of how does what's Iceland's role been in the global economy or in just in global, you know, activity, so to speak. And so there's going to be even that weave of conversation, I think, throughout your trip. That's fascinating. We then make our way, what we call the Golden Circle. You might have heard that term, the Golden Circle. And this, I think, is, there's many highlights to this trip. And it's hard to just tell you that there's one or two or whatever, but truly, this is going to be one of those experiences. Thingvellir is a UNESCO heritage site. So if you're one of those travelers that likes to check, I've been to, you know, this UNESCO site and this UNESCO site, this is a definite location to achieve that. And if you look here on the left, on the top of the picture, kind of by the bus, but over to the left, you're going to start to see this ridge. This area is called the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. And this is kind of what it looks like close up. This is literally the only place in the world that you can visibly see two plates. Remember plate tectonics when we were all in science class? The only place that you can see two plates meeting. There is no other place in the world. Most of the time, this is happening deep in the ocean. And so it's widely studied. And, you know, one of the questions people always ask is it colliding or is it pulling apart? Well, this is an area where it's actually pulling apart. So you can literally walk in some of these, you know, spaces where you're now touching, and maybe I'll give you a minute to think. Well, no, I'm going to actually ask the question. What two plates are meeting here? Does anybody know? Do, 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 do. Anybody? Do, do, do. This is, all right, I'm giving it to you. The North American plate and the Eurasian plate is the two plate tectonics that are meeting in this location. But this is a rich story of earth and movement, right? So there's a lot to say here. There's, you know, this is the largest lake in Iceland, and this is part of the same mid-Atlantic, you know, ridge valley here. And because of the soil is all volcanic. And so you have, you know, it's kind of like the wine country in Washington or the wine country in Oregon. You know, boy, that volcanic soil means a great deal. And so this can be very, very green and very, you know, lush, really. The Vikings, sadly, just as a little side note, they cut down all the trees. So Iceland seems a lot more barren than what its natural state would have been. It would have been a much more treed environment prior to the Vikings' arrival, which was in about 900 AD. This is the Thingvellir Parliament, except this isn't what it really looked like. This is more kind of a housing to talk about this, but this is where the first democratic parliament existed in the world, somewhere around 930 AD. The Icelandicers would come and congregate outside, because there wasn't these buildings, to discuss the leadership and let's say the, you know, structures and the things that make civilization roll. And so in the summers, they would gather in this location. So here you are in this geologically crazy rich place, and yet it's also the oldest, you know, gathering for democratic leadership and policy. And again, folks would, you know, walk to this location. We can't keep going and not talk about geysers. And so you will have an experience with multiple geysers. I am going to tell you that Iceland, unlike maybe Yellowstone, they don't put up the guardrails. You know, we're very litigious in this country. And so we do a lot to make sure somebody doesn't fall in, fall over, fall off. Iceland, not so much. So I'm just going to say you definitely want to keep yourself on these paths. Most definitely. But these geysers are just amazing. And, you know, like our Old Faithful, they have Strokkur, and which is, you know, the same thing. It's erupting every so many minutes. And so we're going to have the opportunity to see this. The only difference is, you guys, your opportunity will sort of have this frozen landscape up that mountainside. So you're just going to have, I mean, your pictures. I love Iceland every season of the year. So let me say that. But probably my most favored visits have been we're in that kind of cooler climate, and we're getting those winter textures to the whole thing. But you're in the Arctic. I mean, so in some ways, this is having an experience in the Arctic. I don't know if we have any waterfall junkies on our call, but I will say I have seen Vic Falls, I have seen Iguazu, I have seen Niagara. You know, I have seen waterfalls in many places around the world. I have never been as awestruck as what I see with Gullfoss. It is nothing in these pictures are going to show you what this really looks like in real life. It is tremendous. And this is, you know, huge glacial melts that are in these raging rivers that then becomes this massive waterfall. You can actually walk in many areas all the way around. I'm just going to be honest and tell you, these people right here that are sitting right there on the edge, oh my God, it gave me a heart attack. I had to be the ones that are sitting on that next level up. I was like, oh no, we're not coming to the edge. but it is magnificent. And it's got the waters, you're going to see it in its frozen wonders. So, you know, imagine that and the icicles and everything. But it's kind of a browner, mineral rich water. So it has a color tint to it. And but really stunning. And it's the jewel of the waterfalls of Iceland for sure. And so we'll be definitely spending some time here. Another thing that I think is a draw for Iceland, and we often hear about it, I think, is the Icelandic horse. And these are very stout horses. They're not particularly tall. They almost are like a pony, is how I describe them. You know, they feel pony-like. But they are wild. They are harnessed for multiple uses, you know, plowing fields and all those good things. But what makes them unique is they are a standalone horse species. And so they're very revered because they have a pure bloodline to them, a pure genetics. They were brought, imported to Iceland in also around the 900 AD, which is again, the same time the Vikings arrived. And so these horses are going to be something where we're going to stop at a horse farm. We're going to learn about these horses. They have 5 gates. And I don't know if any of you guys out there are horse riders, but it definitely is a unique thing, right? I can't even tell you what all 5 gates are, but they're like a Tennessee Walker. Isn't a Tennessee Walker have 4 gates or something? What's also exciting about this stop at the same location, you're at this farm, you're going to have this experience with these horses, but this is where we really see how do they harness the geothermal energies to create nurseries and gardens. How do they produce their own food on this island, especially when you have this kind of climate, you know, for a very long period of time. And so you see these massive greenhouses. This is a farm to table experience. I will put a bet that this will truly be your best bowl of tomato soup you've ever had. I mean, like, if they had given me 2 bowls and there wasn't witnesses, I would have had both bowls and never apologized. But it just is a phenomenal meal. And so you'll have some time in their gardens and then of course, enjoying this incredible meal here. And then I believe, was it Kim who had our Northern Lights on in the background? You know, this date, you are at, you know, really March and October are the best dates to see the Northern Lights. And, you know, I can't tell you that, you know, there could be a cloudy sky or something like that, but it really is considered, Iceland actually, even over Alaska, is considered truly the best place in the world to witness this, best place in the world. And so you do have this extraordinary opportunity to go out and witness the lights. Not only do we hope to see it in our hotel, to be kind of honest, but to be honest, we'll even be able to see it not just 1, but 2 nights. We're actually even going to go farther out into kind of a rural area. And so we built in 2 nights of sightseeing for the Northern Lights. So if for some reason one night isn't working out, you'll get the second night. And so that's really important. And it has something to do with molecules that hit the sky, I don't know, the Earth's atmosphere, and things happen and colors come. You know, I don't really know how it happens, but it's just cool. So this gives us some of those images. And again, the photography is just, you know, I don't know, you can't go wrong. You could be in an iPhone and you're going to get some great shots. So this will give you an idea. And, you know, you see here's like, you know, almost like a Marchscape here in the background. Now, 2 things I want to bring up to this group that is important if you are considering joining you all and everybody coming together, is this does include that free airfare from a gateway city for Icelandic Air. If you are not in a gateway city, there's just a connection fee. I think it's $350. And, you know, if you're really close by, you may just take a hopper or a train or something to that gateway city. But it's free international air, and that really does make a difference. The other thing I wanted to say to everybody is, you know, we are all very well aware of the scenario of COVID and, like, you know, this constant, we'll call it recalculating. We chose this trip because it is so far out And, you know, from everything we're watching, you know, you hope and pray and you see that it's likely that we'll be in a scenario by, you know, summer's end in 2021 that we'll all be in a more vaccinated state. I do think in travel, and this is my prediction, I don't know if this is true or not, I think we'll have to show a vaccination card. I'm guessing this is going to come to play when we travel internationally. You'll just have to show that you've been vaccinated. You know, the way that you do it if you're going to Peru and you need a, you know, yellow fever vaccination or something. So I predict that. They have not said that that's what's going to happen, but I'm pretty sure that's where we're heading. The other thing I was going to say is that there's a 90-day deposit guarantee on this. So you guys, when you're depositing on this trip, there is a 90-day float that just intentionally we want to kind of reduce that risk and that sense of angst about where things are going. It gives you some time. And I think that's so important that you feel that flexibility. So that is also available, you know, with this and is supportive of your joining us. You should never leave me alone in Iceland. I get up, I have no good. Sandy's in moments of no good. We did hike a glacier, and that is an activity that you could do as an extra, that you put on these clamp-ons and you literally climb up onto the glacier. I was told that little gully that you see there in the back, I was told if you fall into a crevice, there is no rescue. It is so deep, they can never find you again. So that is it. That is it for you. This is that lake we were viewing, the largest lake. And my photo of an Icelandic horse. And so hopefully this has been somewhat entertaining. Notice I avoided to say most of the towns or describe anything with its actual name.
Awesome, that was great, Sandy. Oh my gosh, we had to mute ourselves for quite a bit because the church upstairs is practicing. You might still hear them singing. But, yes, that was awesome. So
I do have a quick question.
Yes.
To confirm the air through 2022, or is it March 2022? Is that travel by then, or what? Can you?
No. Through March of 2021, the free air, and actually, I'm not. I got to tell you, I need to check on this because I don't think it's a firm date. But let me say what I recollect is that all bookings on Iceland before now, basically now or before now, through March 31st, have that guaranteed free air. So you have free air included. But I will tell you that, you know, I've watched us sort of become a little bit fluid in this area. So it's possible that air offer may extend beyond March, but you have free air included in the trip. Does that answer that question?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I just want to confirm that it's actually 2022. That was the.
Yeah, no, your travels are in March of 2022. Yes.
Okay. That's,
yes. So I'm sorry. Yeah, it's March 2nd of 2022.
All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We're quite a bit out.
I'm ready now, though.
I love planning now.
Hopefully that answered your question, Justin. So I know maybe Sandy, you have to hop off or something if you need to go. That's
unfortunately.
fine. Yeah.
But if there's other questions that everybody has, absolutely just send them your way and I will make sure I get them all answered for you guys.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
as quickly as possible. Yeah, this was so much fun. It was good to see some very familiar faces now.
You're getting to know our gang.
I know, I feel like I know all you guys.
Yeah.
So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you,
Sandy.
So I will keep it
Sandy.
short.
Bye,
Yeah,
All right,
and thank
thanks,
you for dealing with our connection issues. I don't know about you guys, but we definitely had some connection Wi-Fi issues. So if you guys have problems, you know, hearing anything or getting kicked off, okay, good. It's just us. All right, fine. Phew. All right. So yeah, I will. We are over our time right now, so I will wrap it up. I just wanted to let you guys know that the price for this tour is incredibly good.
It is.
I don't know if you priced out any of.
How much? Justin says, how much?
He
How
can't
much?
wait.
I know, it's
So
so
impatient.
It's $24.99 per person. So $2,499 per person. And that includes the free airfare from Seattle or Chicago, wherever you're kind of have a
That's
gateway from
amazing.
Iceland. I mean, those airfares are like, I don't know, $1,000 a person or something
Yeah.
like that. So, and I've been to Iceland before, and it's not necessarily a cheap destination to go to. It kind of is okay to get there, but like once you get there, it's kind of expensive.
Everything's more pricey.
So it's an island. It's Scandinavia. It's one of those things. So it's a really, really good deal because it includes some of your meals as well, which are expensive. So
I think it was 7 meals.
7 meals.
7 meals. I don't have the thing in front of me. Anyways, I'll send everybody the information after this presentation. There is a single supplement charge. So if you don't have somebody you have, want a room with or whatever, the single supplement is only $379.
That's killer.
You see who's claiming me over there?
$379 is
Yeah.
amazing. And honestly, travel by yourself. It's amazing. Don't wait for somebody else. If you want to go and pay that single supplement. $379 is ridiculous.
What happened to my screen?
I don't know.
Shoot.
So yeah, there we go.
I don't know why it suddenly started sharing my screen. Isn't that weird?
I don't know. This internet's crazy. I can't handle it.
Hold on,
It is
yeah.
an amazing single stuff. So yeah, I might just stay in a room by myself. But anyway, I do hope some of you join. We're gonna have so much fun. And I'm hoping I could get Zac Efron to meet us there. Really, because that would just make it that much better. We could bake bread, in the sand and all that too.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to that. So, well,
Okay, did we lose everybody?
I hope not. No, I'm here. He can room with me, Justin says.
I don't know what happened to our screen.
Go over to the Zoom thing over there. Go over to
Oh, here.
All right.
Oh my gosh, that was so weird.
We had some small technical difficulties again, but that's okay. Yeah.
Anyways, yes, so we will be definitely sending information over. I was just gonna say about the single supplement thing. If you wanted to, there's a roommate situation that could be arranged and you wouldn't necessarily have to pay the single supplement fee. So if that is something that's interesting to you, talk to us and we'll give you more information about that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it, unless anybody else had any questions. I just didn't want to take up too much more time. We'll send you all the itinerary information, the pricing, and all that stuff. And we're not going to charge you our consultation fee.
Who's going?
Oh yeah, who's going?
Who's in the chat? Tell us
Who's
who's
gonna
going.
join us? Yes, I can only see so many people in the screen here. So
We'll start the countdown next month.
Yeah.
The year countdown starts next month. So
Awesome.
I'm ready.
Awesome.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Yes. Thank
Lovely
you.
to have all of you. And hopefully we'll see some of you at our cooking class this
Oh
Saturday.
yeah, we have our cooking class on Saturday.
Yeah.
We'll see you there.
All right, folks, stay safe.
Bye. If Zach goes, I'm going.